Top 15 Gems Everyone Ignores, 2026 edition. Welcome back to Tops, the journey where we uncover the untold stories behind gemstones. In this episode, we explore 15 stones the world has largely ignored, forgotten, or misunderstood. These are not the diamonds or rubies you already know. These are the silent players of history, the crystals that built temples, crowned emperors, guided explorers, and yet slipped through the cracks of prestige. But let me warn you now, the gem that ranks at number one on this list may change the way you think about value entirely. It is so abundant that you've probably walked past it 100 times, and yet it is so foundational that entire civilizations relied on it. Today, investors dismiss it, jewelers overlook it, and collectors barely mention it. And here lies the danger. Ignore it, and you may overlook one of the greatest paradoxes in gem history. Miss this final reveal, and you could walk away with a false sense of where actual value really lies. If this is your first time here at Tops, make sure to like and subscribe so you don't miss the upcoming chapters of our gemstone journey. Stay with us, because if you leave before the end, you may miss the very lesson history has been hiding in plain sight. Ranked 15th, Serpentine, the fake jade that once ruled ancient altars. In a dusty museum drawer lies a dull green seal, forgotten by visitors, yet priests once pressed this stone to their skin, believing it carried divine power. It wasn't jade at all, it was serpentine. If you think fake jade means worthless, this story may shock you. Serpentine is not a single mineral, but a group of magnesium-rich silicates, born where oceanic crust collides with mantle rock. Its hues range from pale apple green to dark olive, often streaked with black veins like dried rivers across a landscape. With a hardness of just 2.5 to 5.5 on the Mohs scale, it scratches under a blade and crumbles under careless handling. Sources stretch from the mountains of Afghanistan to China, Italy, and even pockets of Vermont in the United States. Unlike jade, serpentine cannot withstand the centuries unscathed. That fragility doomed it to be overlooked by gem cutters and disregarded by investors. Yet in antiquity, serpentine carried immense weight. In Egypt, it was carved into amulets shaped as scarabs, believed to channel rebirth. In early China, dynasties shaped ritual vessels and burial ornaments from serpentine, centuries before jadeite arrived from Burma. Some historians suggest that entire generations mistook serpentine for genuine jade, venerating it as a bridge between earth and heaven. When harder, more lustrous jade entered the trade routes, serpentine was revealed as an impostor. Overnight, the sacred became secondary. Despite its fall from favor, serpentine never disappeared entirely. In Mediterranean folklore, it was thought to repel snake bites, its very name tied to serpents. Medieval Europe saw serpentine beads strung into rosaries, believed to absorb poisons and cleanse the spirit. But by the 18th and 19th centuries, gemologists reclassified it as common. Museums relegated serpentine artifacts to side cases, bypassed by visitors rushing toward emeralds and sapphires. In jewelry, its softness made it undesirable. Scratches dulled its luster, discouraging artisans from giving it pride of place. Today, serpentine is mined less for jewelry than for architecture. Entire facades of cathedrals and civic halls gleam in muted green because they were clad in serpentine blocks. In New York, St. Patrick's Cathedral's distinctive surface owes its color to this overlooked stone. Small cabochons and beads still appear in local markets, often mislabeled as jade, rarely commanding more than a few dollars. In auction houses, serpentine is absent. To collectors, it is invisible. And yet ignoring serpentine erases a remarkable truth. Civilizations once built spiritual connections on their green shimmer. Where jade was scarce, serpentine filled the gap. Its fragility condemned it in commerce, but its presence in ritual, myth, and architecture remains undeniable. A cracked seal of serpentine lies in a provincial museum, its surface dulled, inscriptions nearly gone. It sits ignored as tourists hurry toward brighter treasures. But priests once pressed this same stone against their skin, believing gods answered through green veins, not diamonds. If you find it surprising that a so-called fake jade anchors ancient rituals, leave a comment below and ask, What other stones hide their stories beneath the shadow of something greater? If Serpentine lived its life mistaken for jade, our next stone carries a name built on pure myth, a river that never truly held it. Ranked 14th, Amazonite, the gem named for a river that never held it. Why is a gem named for the Amazon River never found in the Amazon? Traders built their name on myth, and today most jewelers ignore it entirely. Skip this, and you'll miss how branding alone nearly created a false legend in gem history. Today, Amazonite is quarried in Colorado, Madagascar, and Russia. Dealers polish it into beads, cabochons, or figurines for the souvenir market. Its color photographs beautifully, green to bluish-green, with white streaks that resemble brushstrokes across the stone. But its cleavage makes it fragile, prone to breaking along these lines. At 6 to 6.5 on the Mohs scale, it is more complicated than glass, but not durable enough for high-end settings. Collectors regard it as decorative, not investment grade. The irony is that its name, Amazon Stone, suggests grandeur and rarity, whereas the reality is one of abundance and neglect. The name itself was a marketing invention. European traders in the 18th and 19th centuries promoted Amazonite as if it were drawn from the Amazon basin, linking it to the myth of warrior women said to inhabit the region. But no confirmed deposits exist near the Amazon River. The association was purely symbolic, exotic branding designed to sell. By the early 20th century, gemology had established its identity, and the aura of mystery had begun to fade. Without scarcity, its commercial appeal collapsed. Step further back. In Egyptian tombs, archaeologists have found beads carved from green feldspar that match the chemical signature of Amazonite. Some scholars argue it was the green stone mentioned in Mesopotamian tablets associated with fertility and protection. In pre-Columbian South America, pieces of green feldspar were shaped into ceremonial objects. These early uses demonstrate that long before the name Amazonite was established, the stone had significant ritual value. Yet none of these cultures elevated it to the status of jade or emerald. It was used, but never revered. What Amazonite lacked in royal prestige, it gained in folk symbolism. In Russia's Ural Mountains, it was carried as a talisman for courage. Modern metaphysical circles refer to it as the stone of communication, associating it with the throat chakra. But metaphysical associations have not changed their market reality. Auction records remain silent. Jewelers rarely feature it in catalogs. Despite its mythic name, Amazonite is almost entirely ignored by the serious gem trade. Amazonite embodies a contradiction. It carries a name larger than its value. While its bluish-green color can rival turquoise, it lacks durability, rarity, and transparency, the traits that drive market demand. Its identity rests more in myth than in mineral, and myths alone cannot secure a place in modern gem markets. Ignored in 2026, sold cheaply as trinkets. Ignored a century earlier, when its exotic branding lost credibility. Ignored even in antiquity, where it served as an ornament but never as a crown jewel. A gem with a name more potent than its substance. A name borrowed from a river that never held it. If you find it curious that a story could outweigh a stone, leave a comment below and ask, how many other gems survive on reputation rather than reality? From a gem named for a river that doesn't exist, we move to one born from wood, carrying the weight of grief across an empire. Ranked 13th. Jet, the fossil of mourning that once ruled Victorian fashion. In 1862, Queen Victoria's mourning jewelry set the style of an empire. The gem she wore was jet, fossilized wood polished into black necklaces. Today, the same material sells for cheaper than dinner in tourist stalls. How does a royal gem collapse this far? Jet is not a mineral at all, but a variety of lignite, fossilized wood compressed over millions of years under extreme pressure. Its structure is organic. Its color is a deep, velvety black, sometimes with brown overtones. Found in seams of coal-bearing strata, notable deposits appear in England's Whitby coast, Spain, Turkey, and parts of China. With a Mohs hardness of about 2.5 to 4, jet is soft and easily carved, polished to a mirror-like luster that once rivaled that of black onyx. Its lightness meant even large beads or pendants could be worn comfortably, a practical advantage in the age of heavy jewelry. Jet's actual rise began in Victorian England. After the death of Prince Albert in 1861, Queen Victoria entered a period of deep mourning. She wore jet exclusively for years, and the fashion cascaded through Europe. Jet jewelry, including necklaces, brooches, and rosaries, became both a marker of solemnity and a symbol of social status. Workshops in Whitby produced thousands of pieces, which were exported across the empire. Jet was no longer fossilized wood. It was mourning jewelry, and its value surged. However, fashions rooted in grief have a short life. By the early 20th century, as mourning practices shifted, demand for jet collapsed. Synthetic substitutes such as vulcanite imitate its appearance at a lower cost. The once prestigious gem became associated with loss, sadness, and outdated style. From royal courts to forgotten drawers, jet vanished from mainstream jewelry. Jet did not disappear entirely. In Spain, it remained tied to pilgrimage traditions, especially along the Camino de Santiago, where jet amulets were believed to ward off evil. In some cultures, jet beads were used in prayer or as talismans to ward off the evil eye. Today, jet holds a niche in the metaphysical market associated with protection and grounding. However, these roles are minor compared to their peak in the Victorian era. Museums preserve ornate jet necklaces, yet visitors often overlook them, drawn instead to gold and gemstones that still command prestige. In 2026, jet occupies the lowest tier of gem commerce. Jewelry made from it is sold at modest prices in tourist towns and craft fairs. Auction houses rarely list it. Collectors show little interest. Fossil hunters value raw jet specimens, but not for jewelry's sake. A gem that once defined an era of fashion now survives only as a historical curiosity. Jet's downfall is rooted in its very identity. As a fossilized wood, it lacks the mineral pedigree that buyers expect from gemstones. Its soft structure scratches easily, diminishing its durability. But most of all, jet's symbolic tie to mourning condemned it in modern markets. No one seeks jewelry that advertises grief today. Once, jet draped across the shoulders of queens, its black surface a badge of power veiled in grief. Today, the same material sells in craft stalls for the price of a meal. A gemstone elevated by mourning, undone by fashion. A rise inverted into obscurity. If you find it striking that a fossilized wood once ruled an empire's jewelry box, leave a comment below and ask which gems of today might suffer the exact inversion tomorrow. Jet defined mourning in the 19th century, but Jasper defined memory for millennia, carved into seals, mosaics, and sacred floors. Rank 12th, Jasper, the stone. Found everywhere but remembered nowhere. On royal seals and cathedral floors, in pharaoh's amulets, Jasper was everywhere. Yet open auction catalogs, and its name is gone. If a stone could shape civilizations and still vanish from memory, what else are we overlooking? Jasper is a microcrystalline variety of quartz, colored by impurities of iron, clay, or organic materials. Its hues range from earthy reds to mottled greens, often patterned like landscapes or abstract paintings. Found across nearly every continent, from India and Egypt to the Americas, Jasper forms in sedimentary and volcanic environments. With a hardness of 6.5 to 7, it is durable enough for daily wear, but is rarely transparent. That opacity placed it outside the hierarchy of precious gems, consigning it to the decorative tier. In Mesopotamia, jasper seals carried the names of kings. In Egypt, red jasper was associated with the life-giving blood of Isis and used in protective amulets for the dead. The Greeks and Romans carved jasper into intaglios, embedding them in rings as symbols of power. Medieval lapidaries praised it for its ability to heal wounds and calm storms. Entire medieval cloisters in Europe featured jasper slabs embedded in their sacred floors. Few stones were so present in the daily and spiritual lives of ancient civilizations, yet jasper's very abundance worked against it. Because it could be quarried in massive quantities, it became a building material as much as a gemstone. Unlike ruby or emerald, it never embodied exclusivity. By the Renaissance, it was dismissed as common quartz. In modern gem markets, jasper is relegated to beads and cabochons sold at modest prices. Auction houses rarely bother listing it unless attached to a significant artifact. Even then, the value lies in the craftsmanship, not the stone. Today, jasper is popular among lapidary artists and metaphysical practitioners, admired for its earthy palette. Collectors enjoy varieties like picture jasper or ocean jasper for their patterns, yet prices remain low. It decorates countertops, rosaries, and tourist trinkets. While it continues to surround us, its cultural voice is muted. No gemological spotlight, no market surge, just silence. Jasper's fate is tied to its ubiquity, too common to be rare, too opaque to shine, too utilitarian to command prestige. Historians seldom single it out, dealers pass it by, and investors forget it. A gem used to build empires has become invisible precisely because it is everywhere. Jasper lined tombs, mosaics, and altars. It carried seals of kings and prayers of monks. Yet today it vanishes from our language of gems. No spotlight, no investment, no story told. Silence where history once spoke. If you find it curious that a stone so present could become so invisible, leave a comment and ask, how much of history is buried not in rarity, but in neglect? Jasper gave form to empires' stones, while Chalcedony gave voice to their faith. One built surfaces, the other carried words. Ranked 11th. Chalcedony, the archive stone history, recorded but we forgot. Medieval manuscripts praised it, Islamic rings bore it, and bishops sealed documents with it. Chalcedony was once everywhere in the archives of faith. But in today's jewelry world, silence. Don't skip this. It's a forgotten record that reveals how gems lose their voice. Chalcedony is a cryptocrystalline form of silica, essentially a microfibrous quartz. Its structure produces a soft translucence, most often in shades of blue-gray, white, or pale lavender. Abundant across the globe, from Turkey to India to the western United States, Chalcedony was easily carved and polished. On the Mohs scale, it ranks 6.5 to 7, hard enough to endure centuries of wear, making it an ideal material for seals and signets. But its very durability worked against its rarity. Chalcedony survived, but its prestige did not. In Mesopotamian archives, Chalcedony seals bear the names of rulers and merchants. Roman writers describe intaglios, cut into blue chalcedony, to honor deities of the sea and sky. Medieval texts claim the stone-cooled tempers and protected against demons. In early Islamic culture, the Prophet Muhammad himself was said to have worn a silver ring set with chalcedony. This legacy made the gem a favored material for inscribed signets across the centuries. For millennia, chalcedony has served not only as decoration, but also as a symbol of authority. Documents bore their imprint, their impressions sealed contracts. Despite its prominence in religious and legal archives, chalcedony never achieved the brilliance of its gemstone relatives. Unlike sapphire or topaz, it offered no fiery transparency. Its muted glow served priests and scribes, but failed to capture courts and collectors. By the Renaissance, chalcedony was relegated to the background, overshadowed by agate, technically part of the same family but with banded colors more dramatic. Today, chalcedony is remembered in museums of antiquity, but overlooked in jewelry catalogs. Today, chalcedony is often featured in cabochons and modest jewelry pieces, sometimes dyed to resemble turquoise. It is cheap, accessible, and abundant. Auction houses rarely mention it unless it is tied to a significant artifact, such as an ancient seal or an Islamic ring. For gem investors in 2026, chalcedony remains a relatively unknown gemstone. Its role has shifted from prestige to craft, from sacred object to trinket. Chalcedony's fate rests in its archives. It was never a gem of brilliance or rarity. It was a gem of record, ritual, and repetition. When those rituals waned and archives shifted from stone to paper, their relevance dimmed. Chalcedony is not absent in history. It is buried in the margins of texts no one reads. Chalcedony still surfaces in ancient seals, inscriptions, and religious rings preserved in dusty archives. Its light blue translucence carries a legacy invisible to modern markets, but etched into centuries of contracts and prayers. If you find it striking that a gem could be everywhere in the written record, yet ignored in the showroom, leave a comment and ask what other stones are trapped between pages of history, waiting to be reread. From a stone preserved in archives but absent in trade, we turn to a gem that shares the family of emerald and aquamarine, yet lives forever in their shadow. Heliodor, the golden beryl no one values. Ranked 10th, Heliodor, the golden beryl forever in emerald shadow. A gem from the same family as emerald and aquamarine. Durable, transparent, golden. It should rival the greats. Yet Heliodor, the gift of the sun, is ignored, sold for pennies on the dollar. How can a sibling of emerald be treated like quartz? Heliodor is a yellow to golden variety of beryl, colored by iron within its crystal lattice. Like emerald and aquamarine, it forms in granitic pegmatites, often in Brazil, Madagascar, Ukraine, and Namibia. On the Mohs scale, it measures 7.5 to 8, making it durable enough for jewelry, transparent enough for fine cutting, and capable of producing striking faceted gems. Its golden tone ranges from pale lemon to deep honey, occasionally with a greenish cast. By all gemological standards, Heliodor should command prestige. Instead, markets dismiss it as colored quartz's cousin, ignoring its shared lineage with emerald. The first notable finds appeared in the early 20th century in Volodyarsk, Ukraine. Dealers branded the material Heliodor, invoking the sun god Helios. But unlike emerald, which carried millennia of imperial patronage, Heliodor had no archive of myths or royal traditions to elevate it. The timing was poor. By the mid-20th century, citrine and yellow sapphire dominated the golden palette, leaving little room for Heliodor. Jewelry houses treated it as a novelty, not a centerpiece. Its prestige never caught fire. In esoteric traditions, Heliodor was said to strengthen confidence and align willpower with clarity. Carvings in the Art Deco period occasionally featured golden beryl, its sun-like color resonating with optimism. But when fashion shifted, Heliodor lost its footing. Emerald's rarity, aquamarine's oceanic clarity, and even morganite's romantic pink commanded attention. Heliodor, though equally durable, was branded the forgotten sibling. In museum collections, golden beryl pieces exist, but they are always displayed as side exhibits to emeralds. Today, Heliodor appears sporadically in boutique jewelry, often cut into emerald-style facets or cabochons. Prices remain modest, rarely exceeding a few tens of dollars per carat. Auction records are scarce, overshadowed by the soaring demand for emeralds and aquamarines. In 2026, as Paraiba Tourmaline and pink diamonds dominate headlines, Heliodor remains ignored. Its qualities, durability, transparency, golden brilliance, are not enough to overcome the weight of history and branding. Heliodor's tragedy is inversion itself, belonging to the illustrious beryl family but lacking the cultural crown. While emerald is entwined with mythology and aquamarine with oceans and sailors' protection, Heliodor's narrative is thin, a gift of the sun that no one claimed, a sibling without inheritance. Emeralds carry crowns, aquamarines carry oceans, and morganites carry romance. Heliodor carries nothing but its own brilliance, ignored because no story ever claimed it. A golden sibling turned invisible, an inversion of birthright. If you find it remarkable that a gem so durable and radiant could be forgotten, leave a comment and ask, how many treasures vanish simply because they were born in the wrong shadow? Heliodor shines with a golden fire, yet it was abandoned, but Iolite, with its cool violet-blue hue, once guided sailors to the hidden sun. Ranked 9th. Iolite, the Vikings' compass gem that markets forgot. Legends say Viking sailors used it to find the hidden sun. Not sapphire, but iolite, a stone tied to exploration itself. Yet today it's absent from gem markets. If myths this strong can fade, what does that mean for every other gem we value? Iolite is the gem variety of the mineral cordierite, an aluminum silicate that crystallizes in metamorphic rocks. Its name comes from the Greek word ios, meaning violet, due to its deep purplish blue tones. On the Mohs scale, it rates 7 to 7.5, durable enough for daily wear. What makes iolite unique is pleochroism. When viewed from different angles, the crystal shifts from violet blue to gray to honey yellow. This optical property may explain its legendary role in navigation. Thin slices used as polarizing filters to detect the sun's position even when hidden by clouds. Primary sources include India, Sri Lanka, and Madagascar. The Viking compass theory, although debated, is mentioned in Icelandic sagas and later scholarly speculation. Whether Vikings actually used iolite crystals as navigation aids remains uncertain, but the legend persists. Medieval texts describe cordierite-like stones with directional properties, though hard evidence is scarce. Still, the association embedded iolite in cultural memory as a tool of exploration. Unlike sapphire or ruby, however, iolite never became a symbol of power. Its use was functional, not ceremonial. In some parts of India, iolite served as a modest jewelry stone, called Neela in local markets. Metaphysical traditions associate it with vision and intuition, tracing its origins to its optical shifts. Yet beyond these niches, iolite found little stage. Jewelers often confuse it with tanzanite or sapphire, dismissing it as an inferior substitute. Museums rarely highlight it. Its story survives more in folklore than in showcases. Today, iolite is available at low prices, often under $20 per carat for clean stones. Despite durability and unique optical traits, it remains overshadowed by sapphire, which dominates the blue gem category. Auction records are nearly silent on iolite. Even in 2026, when collectors chase neon tourmalines and pink diamonds, iolite continues to drift unseen. Its Viking myth lingers, but markets do not reward myth without rarity. Iolite embodies the gap between story and value. Its pleochroism is scientifically fascinating, its folklore culturally rich, but it lacks the transparency, prestige, and scarcity that drive gemstone demand. Once a guide for sailors and perhaps, now it guides no one's investment. In Icelandic sagas, fragments of a blue stone were said to guide voyages to distant shores. In modern gem catalogs, the same stone is rarely listed. Preserved in words but absent in value, iolite lives more in the archive of myth than in the halls of trade. If you find it curious that a stone once linked to exploration is ignored by collectors, leave a comment and ask, how many other gems are remembered only in legend, not in markets? If iolite was a navigator's compass, obsidian was a warrior's blade, a crystal that cut empires as sharply as steel. Ranked 8th, obsidian, the volcanic glass. Sharper than steel, now forgotten. A blade sharper than steel, black as midnight, rests in a museum case. Once the weapon of empires, obsidian was feared and revered. Now it sells as souvenirs. How does volcanic glass that once drew blood become a gemstone? Nobody counts. Obsidian forms when silica-rich lava cools rapidly, preventing crystals from developing. The result is a natural glass, glossy black but sometimes streaked with brown, green, or even iridescent rainbow sheens. Found in volcanic regions from Anatolia to Mesoamerica, obsidian is common wherever eruptions once occurred. Its hardness of 5 to 5.5 makes it brittle, but capable of breaking with edges finer than surgical steel. For millennia, that fracture was both its strength and its curse. In Anatolia, obsidian was one of humanity's earliest cutting tools, traded as far back as 7000 BCE. In Mesoamerica, the Aztecs and Maya crafted sacrificial blades, arrowheads, and mirrors for use in divination. To hold a polished obsidian mirror was to gaze into another realm, both literally and symbolically. Archaeologists have uncovered entire workshops devoted to obsidian production, providing evidence of a vast industry that predates the use of iron. Yet when metals arrived, obsidian lost its primacy. Despite its decline as a weapon, obsidian continued to be used in ritual. Priests in Central America continued to use obsidian knives in ceremonies long after bronze became available. In Mediterranean folklore, shards of obsidian were believed to repel the evil eye. In the Renaissance, collectors admired its sheen, though always as curiosity, never as a crown jewel. Obsidian was too fragile and too familiar to hold prestige against diamonds and sapphires. Today, obsidian is carved into beads, cabochons, and decorative objects. Variants like rainbow obsidian or gold sheen obsidian attract metaphysical interest, linked to protection and grounding. However, in gem markets, it remains a low-value item. Auction houses seldom feature it. Even as museums display obsidian artifacts, visitors pass by quickly, seeking brighter treasures. A material once sharper than steel now struggles to cut into modern imagination. Obsidian's downfall lies in abundance and fragility. As volcanic glass, it can be found widely, lacking the scarcity that fuels gem investment. Its cultural role as a weapon and ritual tool faded with the rise of metals. Although beautiful, it is too delicate for mainstream jewelry. Once essential, obsidian is now overlooked. A blade of obsidian lies under museum lights. Its edge, sharper than steel, once drew blood in ritual and battle. Now it waits, fractured, the cut unfinished. Obsidian's black mirror showed truth and blood. Spinel, by contrast, thrived on deception, shining in crowns under another gem's name. Ranked 7th, Spinel, the royal impostor that lost its crown. England's crown jewels feature 2 legendary rubies. Both are Spinel's. For centuries, kings believed them priceless. Science revealed its proper name, and prestige vanished overnight. If royalty can be fooled, how fragile is the value of gems themselves? Spinel crystallizes in the cubic system, forming octahedral shapes that are often mistaken for rough rubies. Chemically, it is magnesium aluminum oxide, colored by trace chromium and iron into shades of red, pink, violet, blue, and even black. Found in marble deposits across Myanmar, Sri Lanka, Afghanistan, and Tajikistan, Spinel shares the same geological neighborhoods as corundum. On the Mohs scale, it is rated 8, indicating that it is both durable and bright. By gemological standards, Spinel rivals ruby in beauty and hardness. Its misfortune lies not in its properties, but in its name. The 170-carat Black Prince's ruby and the 361-carat Timur ruby, both crown jewels of England, are actually Spinels. Medieval traders lacked the science to distinguish corundum from Spinel, so Spinel became the impostor gem of empires. Worn by kings carried into battle, enshrined in crowns, yet always mistaken identity. When gemology advanced in the 18th and 19th centuries, these famous rubies were reclassified as Spinel. Overnight, their aura dimmed. The gem that once symbolized royal bloodlines became second class. In Asia, Spinel held quiet prestige in local markets, especially in Burma's Mogok Valley, where miners unearthed vibrant pinks and reds. But globally, its status collapsed after reclassification. Jewelers marketed ruby as the premium, sapphire as the rival, and emerald as the contrast. Spinel had no niche. For collectors, its legacy as an impostor overshadowed its natural brilliance. Even today, museums label Spinel with cautious footnotes. Once believed to be ruby, Spinel has seen flashes of revival. In the 2020s, auctions have drawn attention from connoisseurs, with neon pink and cobalt blue Spinels fetching high prices. Yet outside elite circles, Spinel remains largely ignored. Jewelry houses rarely feature it in campaigns. Consumers confuse it with synthetic substitutes. Compared to ruby's centuries of myth, Spinel cannot compete. In 2026, it finds itself in a paradox: scientifically distinct, aesthetically equal, yet commercially invisible. Spinel's story is inversion embodied. Once celebrated in crowns, it was dethroned by science. Its brilliance did not fade, its narrative did. A gem reduced from royal centerpiece to overlooked alternative. Today, Spinel lingers in auction lots, quietly overshadowed by ruby. A century ago, it was reclassified, its crown stolen by science. Centuries before that, it glittered in royal processions as the Black Prince's ruby. A gem inverted by history, from monarch's pride to market's neglect. If you find it remarkable that identity alone could erase prestige, leave a comment and ask, which gems of today might be tomorrow's imposters? Spinel ruled by false identity, but fluorite rules by too much truth. Its rainbow beauty collapses under its own fragility. Ranked 6th, fluorite, the most colorful mineral the gem world ignores. The most colorful mineral in the world. Rainbow bands of purple, blue, green, yellow, and even pink glow within its crystals. Museums display entire cases of it, students learn its name in geology classes, and collectors marvel at its fluorescence under ultraviolet light. Yet when we turn to jewelry catalogs, fluorite vanishes. Why does one of Earth's most dazzling minerals remain silent in the story of gems? Fluorite is calcium fluoride, forming cubic crystals often perfectly symmetrical, with striking clarity and vivid color zoning. Found worldwide, from China and Mexico to Illinois, Morocco, and the Alps. It is abundant and geologically diverse. Under UV light, it fluoresces in shades of blue and violet, a property so distinctive that the very word fluorescence was coined from fluorite. On the Mohs scale, however, it ranks only 4. Too soft, too brittle, easily scratched or chipped. Beautiful, but impractical for daily wear. Fluorite has been mined since antiquity. The Romans carved vases from banded fluorite, prized as marine vessels, so luxurious that one cup was said to cost more than a villa. In China, artisans carved fluorite into amulets and figurines. In the Middle Ages, fluorite was ground into powder and believed to ward off evil spirits. Yet these uses remained peripheral. When diamonds, rubies, and emeralds claimed the stage, fluorite never joined them. Its softness made it unsuitable for regalia or long-lasting jewels. Fluorite's primary fame came not from quartz, but from laboratories. It became the reference mineral for hardness 4 in the Mohs scale. Its fluorescence fascinated scientists, inspiring entire fields of optics and chemistry. To collectors, fluorite is beloved. Some specimens from Illinois' now-closed mines sell for thousands as mineral pieces. But in jewelry culture, fluorite is absent. Museums highlight its colors, scientists study its glow, but the public rarely names it among gemstones. Today, fluorite is showcased in mineral shows as glittering cubes and spheres, popular with collectors and metaphysical practitioners who associate it with mental clarity. In auctions, however, it is virtually absent, appearing only in mineral sales, not fine jewelry. Jewelers avoid it. Too soft, too fragile, too overlooked by fashion. In 2026, fluorite remains a paradox. More colorful than many precious stones, more accessible than most, but left outside the conversation of gems. Fluorite's silence comes from contradiction. It dazzles to the eye, inspires in science, delights collectors, but cannot survive the test of wear or the demands of markets. Its brilliance is undeniable, but its voice in gemology is muted. Fluorite glows in museum cases, in laboratories, in collectors' shelves, but not in jewelry windows, not in auction ledgers, not in the stories markets tell. A mineral too colorful to forget, yet too fragile to remember. Silence between brilliance and value. If you find it strange that such a radiant stone could vanish from the gem world's vocabulary, leave a comment and ask, how many other colors of history are lost in silence? If fluorite is a rainbow denied prestige, Sunstone is fire denied recognition. A gem of sparks left in shadow by its lunar twin. Ranked 5th. Sunstone, the brilliant gem forever in Moonstone's shadow. Coppery sparks ignite inside the crystal, as if the sun itself were trapped in stone. But while its twin, Moonstone, rose to fame, Sunstone was forgotten. How does a gem of fire lose to a gem of shadow? Sunstone belongs to the feldspar group, specifically oligoclase or orthoclase varieties containing tiny platelets of hematite, copper, or guthite. These inclusions create aventurescence, the shimmering metallic glitter across the gem's surface. Found in deposits from Oregon to India, Norway to Tanzania, Sunstone ranges from pale yellow to deep reddish-orange, sometimes with a coppery sheen. On the Mohs scale, it measures 6 to 6.5, making it durable enough for jewelry, although softer than quartz. Each polished gem can display unique flashes, as if carrying fragments of the sun inside. In antiquity, Sunstone was linked to the sun god in Norse and Greek traditions. Some scholars suggest Viking navigators may have used feldspar crystals, possibly sunstone, as polarizing filters to locate the sun, though this is debated. In the 19th century, deposits in Norway revived interest. But Sunstone never attained the prestige of diamonds or sapphires. Unlike Moonstone, which gained mystical allure and global recognition, Sunstone's story was fragmented, scattered across cultures without a consistent myth to sustain it. Moonstone rose as the feldspar of romance and spirituality, tied to lunar deities and feminine mystique. Sunstone, despite its brilliance, never achieved that symbolic weight. Jewelry houses promoted Moonstone in Art Nouveau designs, while Sunstone languished in regional markets. Only in Oregon, where transparent crystals with coppery aventurescence are mined, did Sunstone gain a loyal following, and it was even declared the state's official gemstone. Yet globally, it is sidelined, a feldspar understudy in a play dominated by its lunar twin. Today, Oregon's Sunstone appears in boutique collections, occasionally fetching high prices for rare red or green gems with strong copper inclusions. But outside niche circles, Sunstone remains ignored. Auction catalogs rarely feature it. Jewelers default to Moonstone for feldspar designs. In 2026, when investors chase neon tourmalines and pink diamonds, Sunstone barely flickers on the radar. Its brilliance is real, its identity overlooked. Sunstone suffers from comparison. It is not absent but inverted, existing only in relation to Moonstone. Where Moonstone symbolizes mystery and desire, Sunstone is branded the secondary, the shadow of light. Despite its avant-garde, its narrative lacks the gravity to draw collectors. Moonstone rose to fame, Sunstone fell behind. One glowed with myths of the moon, the other glittered with sparks of the sun. Yet markets crowned the lunar twin, leaving the solar sibling ignored, a brilliance inverted. If you find it remarkable that even sunlight could be overshadowed, leave a comment and ask, which other gems shine brightly only to be hidden by comparison? Sunstone flickers like a trapped fire, but Chrysoprase was once said to have carried the power of conquest itself, guarding Alexander's victories. Ranked fourth, Chrysoprase, Alexander's victory stone lost to time. Legend has it that Alexander the Great never lost a battle while wearing Chrysoprase. Frederick the Great lined his palace walls with it. Today, the same gem sells for less than costume jewelry. How did a conqueror's talisman fall this low? Chrysoprase is a variety of Chalcedony colored by nickel inclusions, giving it a vibrant green that rivals jade. Found in Australia, Poland, Brazil, and Kazakhstan, cryptocrystalline quartz is characterized by its translucent appearance and smooth, waxy luster. On the Mohs scale, it measures 6.5 to 7, making it durable enough for jewelry, and is often cut into cabochons or beads. Its apple green hue is distinctive, softer than emerald, yet bright enough to glow under sunlight. However, unlike emerald, Chrysoprase rarely occurs in large, flawless pieces, which limits its use in fine jewelry. In Greco-Roman lapidaries, Chrysoprase was described as a stone of power and foresight. Medieval texts praised it for its ability to cure ailments and sharpen the mind. The legend of Alexander's belt buckle, adorned with Chrysoprase, reinforced its reputation as a stone of conquest. During the Renaissance, artisans carved it into cameos and intaglios. Frederick the Great of Prussia was so enamored of Chrysoprase that he adorned his palace, Sanssouci, with it in the 18th century. Its archives stretch across centuries, from warrior kings to royal patrons. Yet Chrysoprase's status eroded. When jadeite from Burma entered global markets in the 18th and 19th centuries, collectors shifted loyalty. Jade's translucence, scarcity, and imperial associations in China gave it a dominant position. Emerald remained enthroned in Europe. Chrysoprase, though visually striking, lost its position. Its mythic aura was forgotten, its name unfamiliar to the public. Museums preserve carved Chrysoprase cameos, but they rarely feature them in exhibitions. To modern consumers, the stone feels anonymous, a curiosity beside emerald or jade. Today, Chrysoprase is mined in Australia's Marlborough and Queensland fields, yielding translucent green cabochons, prized by lapidary artists. Designers in niche jewelry markets value it for its fresh, spring-like hue. Prices remain modest, ranging from a few dollars to $40 per carat for fine specimens. In 2026 auctions, Chrysoprase is absent from major lots. Investors ignore it. Jewelers treat it as decorative, not precious. A stone once tied to conquest and empire now rests in the margins of trade. Chrysoprase's fate lies in the redirection of history. It had myths, kings, and archives. However, it lacked the scarcity and branding associated with jade or emerald. As markets narrowed definitions of precious, Chrysoprase was excluded. Its brilliance was buried under competing narratives, silenced not by absence but by overshadowing. A carved Chrysoprase cameo lies in a museum drawer, tagged, catalogued, and rarely displayed. Alexander's belt buckle is gone, Frederick's palace walls remain, but the stone itself has faded into footnotes, preserved in archives, ignored in markets. If you find it striking that a conqueror's talisman could become invisible, leave a comment and ask, what other gems wait in the margins of history, hidden behind more famous names? From the green fire of conquerors to a family of gems split by fortune, Tourmaline, where one variety commands record prices and the rest are forgotten. Ranked third, Tourmaline, the rainbow gem family overshadowed by one color. Tourmaline comes in every color of the rainbow. Once it adorned queens and emperors, but since the 1980s, one neon blue variety, Paraiba, has erased the rest. A family of gems destroyed by its own brightest child. How does abundance lead to invisibility? Tourmaline is a boron silicate mineral with complex compositions, forming prismatic crystals in pegmatites. Its varieties are legion: verdolite, green; rubellite, red to pink; schorl, black; indicolite, blue; drovite, brown, and more. On the Mohs scale, it measures 7 to 7.5, making it durable for jewelry, with a vitreous luster and occasional pleochroism. Deposits span Brazil, Afghanistan, Mozambique, Madagascar, Nigeria, and the United States. By sheer mineral diversity, tourmaline rivals quartz in its richness. But markets rarely reward diversity without a singular story. Tourmaline was traded in Europe from the 17th century, often mistaken for other stones. The Dutch East India Company imported Sri Lankan rubies that were later identified as rubellite. In the 18th century, Catherine the Great of Russia favored tourmaline carvings. Chinese artisans prized pink and green tourmaline in Qing dynasty jewelry. For centuries, tourmaline has held prestige, although it has never been as highly regarded as emerald or sapphire. Then in the 1980s, miners in Paraíba, Brazil, unearthed electric blue-green tourmaline colored by copper. Its neon glow shocked the gem world. Prices soared into tens of thousands per carat. Collectors and investors rushed in, and Paraíba tourmaline became a brand. But the twist, while one branch rose to stardom, the others faded. Rubellite, once treasured, lost attention. Indicolite, with its midnight blues, was ignored. Even watermelon tourmaline, beloved by collectors, was relegated to the realm of curiosities. Paraíba's fame inverted the value of the entire family. Abundance became irrelevance. Today, Paraíba dominates auctions, commanding headlines and fortunes. Meanwhile, non-Paraíba tourmalines remain undervalued. Green tourmaline sells for under $50 per carat. Rubellite, vibrant and gemmy, rarely crosses a few hundred. Black schorl, once worn as protective amulets, is now relegated to cabochons of little value. Even exceptional indicolite fails to compete. Collectors know their beauty. The market refuses to recognize their worth. Tourmaline, a rainbow of gems, has been reduced to one neon color. Tourmaline's story is a cautionary tale, a family eclipsed by its most glamorous child. Paraíba did not elevate the group. It consumed it. This is inversion at a global scale. The rarer the Paraíba became, the less value people placed on every other tourmaline. In auction halls, the name tourmaline means only Paraíba. Green, pink, blue, black, once prized, now ignored. A rainbow reduced to a single neon flash. A family inverted by its own success. If you find it remarkable that abundance could erase value, leave a comment and ask, what other gems might be destroyed by their brightest sibling? Tourmaline was undone by excess variety, but Garnet's story runs backward, from royal treasure to budget birthstone. Ranked second, Garnet, from pharaoh's amulets to bargain birthstone. buried with pharaohs. Set in crusaders' swords and carved on Roman senators' rings, garnet was once a stone of power. Today, it's sold as cheap January birthstone jewelry. If a royal gem can unravel into banality, what does that say about value itself? Walk into a jewelry store in 2026, and garnet lies in trays of inexpensive rings. Almandine, the deep red variety, often sells for under $20 per carat. Even rarer types, such as Savorite Green from Kenya and Spessartite Orange from Namibia, fetch only modest prices compared to emeralds or sapphires. Auction houses rarely spotlight garnets unless tied to exceptional size or provenance. Despite its brilliance, durability, Mohs 6.5 to 7.5, and wide color range, garnet today is a budget gem. The decline began in the 19th century when massive deposits in Bohemia, modern Czech Republic, flooded Europe with red garnets. Jewelers mass-produced necklaces and brooches, saturating the market with them. Garnet became affordable, but lost prestige. By the 20th century, synthetic gems and diamonds replaced it in engagement jewelry. Garnet was relegated to folklore rather than fashion. Step further back, and garnet glows with power. Crusaders carried garnet-studded crosses and sword hilts, believing the stone would protect them from wounds. In Anglo-Saxon England, garnet cloisonné decorated the Sutton Hoo burial treasures. The ancients believed that garnet symbolized the life force. In Rome, carved garnet rings sealed state documents. In Persia, they adorned crowns. Thousands of years ago, Egyptian tombs contained garnet amulets to guide the souls into the afterlife. For over 2 millennia, garnet was no mere trinket. It was authority embodied in red. Garnet is not a single mineral, but a group of minerals, including almandine, pyrope, spessartite, grossular, and andradite, among others. Its spectrum runs from deep red to vivid green, orange, and even rare color change varieties. Found worldwide, from Africa to India, Russia to the Americas, garnet is abundant, durable, and brilliant when well cut. Its flaw was never its properties, but its oversupply and lost narrative. Garnet's fate is the opposite of Spinel. Spinel lost value when exposed as an imposter. Garnet lost value because it was too real, too common. Once revered, now reduced to birthstone status, it lives in reverse chronology, prestige unraveling backwards into banality. In 2026, garnet sells in trays of birthstone rings. A century ago, it flooded Europe as Bohemian trinkets. A millennium earlier, it crowned crusaders and senators. 3 millennia back, it guarded pharaohs' tombs, a gem whose story reads backwards, from royal authority to ignored commodity. If you find it striking that history can unravel in reverse, leave a comment and ask, which other gems are being written out of their own story? From the gem that unraveled backwards through history, we arrive at number 1. A stone wrapped in secrecy and silence, once sought by alchemists as the key to transformation itself. In first place, quartz, the most common crystal erased from prestige. Quartz is everywhere. Cathedrals, temples, amulets, clocks, circuits, the very backbone of civilization. Yet in the canon of precious gems, quartz does not exist. The world's most present crystal is absent from prestige. What else do we fail to see? Simply because it surrounds us. Quartz is silicon dioxide, the second most abundant mineral in Earth's crust. In its purest form, it is colorless and transparent, forming 6-sided prisms and pyramids. On the Mohs scale, quartz ranks 7. It is durable, abundant, and cuttable. It occurs worldwide, from Brazil and Madagascar to the Alps and Arkansas. Colored varieties, amethyst, citrine, rose quartz, have their own niches, but rock crystal itself is considered too common to deserve prestige. Its flaw is not beauty, but ubiquity. The ancients revered quartz. The Greeks believed it was crystallos, ice frozen so hard it would never melt. In Japan, polished quartz spheres were sacred objects embodying purity. Roman nobles carved crystal cups in vessels so prized that they rivaled gold. In medieval Europe, bishops carried quartz crystal balls as symbols of divine clarity. For centuries, rock crystal was carved into reliquaries, amulets, and even crowns. It was a gem of purity and light. Quartz's presence in ritual was immense. In Buddhist tradition, rock crystal prayer beads represented clarity of mind. In Renaissance quartz, crystal spheres symbolized knowledge of the heavens. The very idea of a crystal ball, seeing the future through clarity, rests on quartz. Yet despite this cultural ubiquity, quartz slipped out of gemological prestige. When gemology narrowed its canon to precious four, diamond, ruby, sapphire, emerald, quartz was excluded. Its very abundance condemned it. Today, quartz powers timekeeping in watches, drives signals in electronics, and forms the basis of scientific optics. In jewelry, it is most commonly found in the form of beads, carvings, and metaphysical tools. Auction houses rarely list it unless it is a historical artifact. Even flawless quartz crystals, magnificent meter-long prisms from Brazil or Arkansas, are sold as mineral specimens, not gems. In 2026, quartz remains both essential and invisible. Quartz is not absent in reality. It is lacking in prestige. It is everywhere, shaping civilizations, but excluded from the category of precious. Its silence is constructed, not natural. In the hierarchy of gems, quartz was written out as though abundance erased significance. Quartz is cut into beads, carved into spheres, built into cathedrals, and wired into circuits. It is the most seen of all gems, and the most absent from the crown of value. A crystal that shapes civilizations, yet never wears the title precious. If you find it strange that the most present gem is absent in prestige, leave a comment and ask, what else do we fail to see? Precisely because it is everywhere. 15 gems ignored, each carrying stories of conquest, ritual, myth, and silence. From serpentine mistaken for jade to quartz excluded by abundance, history's margins are filled with stones we pass over. If you enjoyed this journey into the overlooked, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share. It helps us keep uncovering the forgotten chapters of gem history. In the next episode, we delve into a darker question. The stones that were once feared, banned, or cursed. You won't want to miss it. And so we close the journey through the 15 gemstones history chose to ignore. From serpentine mistaken for jade, to jet that once ruled the age of mourning, to quartz, the stone of civilizations, absent from prestige. Each of these gems carried myths, markets, and memories, yet slipped into silence. But if there is one lesson to carry away, it is this: value is never fixed. Stones rise and fall not only by their color or hardness, but by the stories we attach to them. Stories that can vanish overnight. Ignore them, and we risk misunderstanding the very foundation of gem history. If you enjoyed this exploration, don't forget to like and subscribe to Tops. It's a simple way to support the channel, and it helps us bring you more hidden chapters from the world of gemstones. And stay tuned, because in our next episode, we turn the story inside out. Not the gems ignored, but the ones feared. Stones once banned, cursed, or believed to carry danger. Some of them you may even own without knowing. Thank you for watching. See you in the next chapter of Tops.